Hi everyone, today is the 17th of April 2020 and I'm really excited to be joined by three fantastic industry icons that you're all may be familiar with or may not be. My name's Charlotte, I'm General Manager at Stockdale and Go Corporate. Adrian?
Yeah, Adrian, I run a real estate agency out in Melbourne's northwest in Sunbury, just north of the airport there. I've been a real estate agent for 2 years in a franchise group and now 4 years running my own agency.
Adam?
I'm Adam Docking. I'm a Eastern Suburbs real estate agent in Vermont City, Whitehorse. We're an independent agency. My father started the business back in 1983. I've been in real estate 29 years. I've been managing and running the family business for 26 years. Currently, I'm a board member of the Real Estate Institute of Victoria, Senior Vice President, Real Estate Institute of Victoria, and I'm also an accredited auctioneer. And at the moment, I'm the chairman of the auction chapter.
Do you have time to do anything else? Quite an interest.
2 kids, married, mortgage. Never get a chance to wash the car though. That's the only thing that always suffers.
That's what the kids are for, Adam.
My kids are going to touch my car.
And Chris?
Charlotte, I'm Chris Helder. I'm a speaker. I get a chance to train and work with many of the top agents around Australia. I've been doing this for 20 years as a speaker and writing books. And, you know, I'm just excited to be a part of a group of people that are trying to help people. What are you giving me a plug there? Is that it, Charlotte? Thanks. Author of the Simple Shift, hot off the press. But good to be here to throw some ideas around with you guys today. It's great.
Beautiful. Thank you guys for joining. We had a bit of a chat before jumping online, and it's a couple of things that we thought would be key for anyone who's in sales across Australia. So we're predominantly Victorian down here. So if you are hearing something that might be not relevant to a different state, apologies, but the concepts and the ideas, you can obviously adapt them. Adrian, before we jumped on, you were talking about the fact that you were working in China in sales and marketing around the GFC. You talked about the fact that you've seen this before in a different version, but you've seen a pretty hard hit to a sales industry. Do you want to have a chat about that for a sec?
Yeah, I think that the first thing that I noticed in the whole of the global and the GFC, and I was operating in markets that were Northern Europe, UK, North America, and part of the Middle East and Asia. And the biggest shift that I have seen across it is that whenever you get a big part of adversity come through, is that you see a shift in people. Now, those that are transactionally focused, you see them move in and out of industries. Always happens. But those with relationships, and they use that time to adequately build strong relationships, they're the ones that actually thrive and come out on top. They usually come out with a lot more market share too when they come out at the end of it. And that's because they've built a long relationship and they've built trust. So the biggest thing in our industry right now, and I say that as a real estate industry, is this word trust, and how a lot of people have a different perspective on the word trust, but really a lot of people don't trust real estate agents. So right now is not the time to be a real estate agent. Now's the time to actually be a human being and actually help educate and support people. And I think I have a strong belief that if you do that, business will come anyway.
Yeah. And how many properties did you list today? Yesterday?
3 in the last 24 hours. And they're all off relationships.
There you go. So it's not stopping you.
Yeah, I think it's just that people are now going to, I think the good thing for the industry right now is that if you're a good agent and you've got a high level of integrity and you've built trust with people, right now, people that are looking to come on the market, they're going to be a bit more selective about who they go with. It's no longer going to be who's the cheapest agent, who's got the cheapest commission, because people are actually looking for something different right now. Just like their buying criteria is changing very, very rapidly. I've got buyers that 4 weeks ago were looking for X, and you know, one particular buyer comes to mind that they wanted to be within 400 metres of the high school, and they wanted a property in a particular estate, and now they're looking at property 30 k's away on bigger farmland out in Romsey because the COVID and being cramped up in the home has told them that they need more space. Exactly what you said off air before, Charlotte. So you're going to see this you're going to see this shift all around everywhere. I spoke about it on a video last week that buyer's criteria is going to change. So what we're going through now is actually good because it's making people now really assess what they want. And if you're there to help them along that journey, that's when you'll get traction.
Absolutely. And we talked a bit before as well, just about the importance of communication, the relationship and the energy. Chris, the most energetic man I know in the history of the world. So do you want to talk a bit about how, I know it's been a shift for you as well in your business, you're struggling to, you've had to adapt considerably very quickly, even though you don't sell real estate. Do you want to talk a bit about how you've coped with that and dealing with your relationships and so forth?
Absolutely. I think, I agree with Adrian 100%. I think it's a people situation right now. And I think it's all of us building those relationships and establishing that trust. I suppose like many of the agents, I did 176 presentations last year and I had 59 ahead of me. And in a matter of, I think pretty much they canceled the NBA. And once they did that, then Tom Hanks got sick. And I think I went from having 59 gigs down to 0 in about 72 hours after that. And, that's okay. Again, I think it's been a situation where all of a sudden you look at it and you go, all right, well, this next few months is going to be a transitional period of time. This gives me a chance to talk to people like you, Charlotte, every day and, talk to important people who are making decisions in the industry. And now all of a sudden, we learn how to speak virtually. And last week I did a conference for the pharmacy industry, which was like 1,000 people through their website, and then turned around and I ran a sales meeting for 6 people in the western suburbs of Melbourne. And I did both those things by 10:30 in the morning. So it was, it's an exciting time. And I think, being forced into a situation which we have to get smarter, we have to get more creative, and we have to build those relationships because anybody who's in this for just transactional, quick, is going to struggle very much.
So how do you bring your energy to the table, Chris? I know that you just exude it, but what do you do at the moment? Because I know it's been a shift for you as well. So what are you doing for yourself to keep going?
Well, everybody knows me, knows I advocate, useful thinking as a philosophy, useful belief as a philosophy of an idea. And all the studies show this, that positive thinking doesn't work, that if you actually just go out there and try to be positive, when negative things happen, often that will derail you and you can actually become in a position where you feel worse about yourself than when you've been started. So I'm not advocating positive thinking. I'm certainly not advocating negative thinking because we got a few of those people in real estate too that are out there doomsdaying. But it's not positive thinking. It's not negative thinking. So for me, it's about useful thinking. It's about thinking, what is my most useful activity to get through today? What's my income producing down the track activity for me to do today? What's my relationship building activity to do today? But I want to be clear, you have that much taken away from you. Grief, it is hard. It is challenging. It is about adversity. And I think, it has been an interesting sort of month of, realizing how we navigate, through those emotions. Grief is useful. I think feeling upset is okay. I think those things, it's just for how long. And at what point do you go, okay, I got to get back at this. Here's a strategy that's going to work for me. And starting to execute on those things. So, Charlotte, energy is a big part of it, and energy is a choice. And I'm a big believer that when you're connected to your life, you have energy. So, it's pretty important.
Now, Adam, just sort of going off that, talking about the headspace of people, you and the Real Estate Institute of Victoria, I take my hats off to you people. You pulled a rabbit out of a hat to keep us going. So I think on behalf of everybody in Victoria, to the board of the Real Estate Institute of Victoria, I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you, that means a lot. That means a lot.
No, I said this morning, I said this morning on our property management chat, we had Leah Calnan, who's the president, we had Sardana Smiles from Harcourts, we had Sophie Lyon, we had Hannah Gill, we had some amazing people on there. And I said, if you're not part of the Real Estate Institute, now is the time to find relevance, because a lot of people are trying to, in the absence of information, we create a reality. We create what that should look like. So, when things are changing and we're having to shift, as Chris says, we're having to do that every 5 seconds. And not only that, we have to gather the information, create the solution, understand what we can and can't do. I implore everybody in Australia, if you are not part of the Real Estate Institute of your state, become a part of it. Because the greatest thing is you get this little email and it goes, bing, something's changed. Here's what you can do. Here's what you can't do. Here's how you adapt. And by the way, we've also created some documents for you. So they're making it as easy as possible. So if you're not part of the Real Estate Institute, you're flying blind. So don't fly blind, get the right information so that you're making the right decisions for your business, for your future, but also making sure, you know, we talk about cowboys out there. We want to make sure that if you're doing the wrong thing, if you're trying to act outside of what you're allowed to do, you're not going to just impact your personal ability to operate or your officer's ability. You're actually going to affect every single one of us. So if we've got 3 cowboys out there going, we can do this, don't worry about what the government says, and those 3 people get busted, you know what? We're out. And we can't afford that. So we all have to come together, I think, at this time and support each other and do the right thing. And if you don't know what the right thing is, or you don't know what you can and can't do, reach out to someone. I know I'm happy to help. I know the Real Estate Institute's there. I know they're fielding a bazillion questions every 5 seconds trying to work out how to help people. But reach out and get the right information. You know, we talk about, going back to what we were talking about with energy and useful belief. If I go back to Wednesday last week, we were allowed to do private inspections and everyone was feeling, I think, like their ability to operate as a salesperson was gone. You know, we spent all these years talking about face-to-face, you know, don't be on the phones, get in front of people, don't send emails, you've got to see people. So not only do you have your prospecting calls, it's also about those face-to-face meetings. So we've been told in this industry that to be successful, you have to do certain activities. That's all been taken away from us, and we can't do open for inspections. You can't field those big auctions where you're standing out on the street going, okay, everybody, we've got 50 people. And I think the headspace of the salesperson, from my understanding from speaking to multiple different people, is it just felt like the next thing went, and the next thing went, and the next thing went, and then the next thing went. And then on Thursday, 5:30, it's like, hey, can't do private inspections. And again, hats off to you guys for fighting tooth and nail. I was on Messenger with Leah at, I think, just before 7 a.m. on Easter, Good Friday. And I think you guys worked tirelessly through the weekend. And I think every real estate agent came together and we all had this feeling of we can't do anything. And that was actually a moment where our ability to operate was pretty much taken away. Now, Wednesday last week, we thought they couldn't get any worse. And then it did. And it was interesting because on Tuesday morning, we were suddenly allowed to do a private inspection. The headspace about being able to do a private inspection, because we got something back. I think the headspace of agents was like, oh, hang on a second, no, we can do this. Now, Wednesday last week, we could do it, but we felt like there was nothing we could do and it was all crumbling. But because it was taken away and then gifted back, it's almost like there's been a shift in the headspace of a lot of agents out there because now we can do it. So I think in terms of processes and working within the confines, you've been doing this, Adam, now for 29 years?
Yes, 29 years.
Yeah, so we joke that he started at 4, but we think it might have been 5. But you said that this isn't the Armageddon. So you've been through hell and back multiple times because we know the property market's cyclical. So what are you doing in your business to, I guess, to keep yourself going so that at the end of this, you can come out and continue? You know, your brand's synonymous. You're very well known. You've been very successful. So what are you doing now to make sure that in 6 or 12 months' time?
You were right about Wednesday. I actually had hair on Wednesday and I lost it all on Thursday.
Glad someone joined me.
Yeah. Well, you'd agree with me, Adrian. You don't have to be bald to be successful, but it actually does help, you know.
It really does help. Give
right, I'm shaving my hair.
Well, you've hit on a couple of really, really important points there. The number one thing, and this also goes through with Adrian and Chris as well, is that, look, real estate is really cyclical. And what happens is when you're really, really busy up here, you don't have time to do everything and the market drops down here. And then you scramble. Then you start to make all the calls and all those sort of things. And that, look, you hit on before, is it's not Armageddon. When I first started real estate, there was no email, there was no mobile phones, there was no, 1,000 points of contact and so forth. It was one-on-one. One of my real bugbears is we all get bombarded with emails with the latest scripts and dialogues of real estate. If you need scripts and dialogues to be in real estate, then you're in the wrong game, because real estate is all about one-on-one personal. So many real estate agents, and especially the new ones that come in it when the market's really booming. And when the market booms, you generally do find that any industry, we'll take real estate because we're talking about it, it loses its professionalism, because, well, anybody can sell real estate, so it's just the slickest operator. You've got to remember, the transaction, whether it be a buyer or a seller, it's a human being, and they want your support. And I wrote down a word here, and I love what Adrian said. I wrote it too: trust. But they want reassurance. And at the moment, because it is just so unprecedented, everybody needs that reassurance, and so do real estate agents. You want that reassurance that this is just a moment in time. This is not forever. We're going to get through this, whether it be, the government's talking about today that on the 11th of May, there'll be some relaxations of certain bans. So that's only in 1 month. I mean, my gosh, I'm a Tigers supporter. We waited years and years and years for a flag. So 1 month is like, it's child's play. So, in May, things will change. In June, things will change. In July, things will change. But Adrian, you said about it's about relationship building, and you said you listed 3 this week. They weren't. The phone didn't ring on Monday, and you listed them on Tuesday. You build up rapport and you build up relationships, and I'm very, very lucky with my history in real estate. And I mean, I've walked through the same door for 26 years. I haven't moved. It's the same. I mean, I can tell you how many steps it is from the car park to the back door. And our car park's a stone car park, and there is, I kid you not, there is an indentation in the car park where I get out of my car and my foot hits the ground. That's how long I've been around. But I've built up these relationships over many years. Now, if you're starting in the industry, that doesn't mean you're going to go hungry. Use this time to see it as a benefit and as a bonus that you can get back to the basics of service. And we're a service industry. We're not a sales industry. We're service. You serve people. You reassure them. You build trust. You build rapport. You build relationships. I have to ask you, Adrian, of your sales, even though you've only been in it sort of for a short time, how many people have come to you because they've been referred to you?
90% of my business today is referral.
Yeah. And it's not because you know the latest, slickest saying. It's because you are you, and you operate on a level of understanding. Look, people can see through a salesperson. And I mean, I don't call myself a salesman. They see that you're just playing them, and if you want to sell them a house or sell their house once, make a fortune off them, and then go up to the local cafe and have your crushed avocado, your smashed avocado and your latte and say, hey, guess what? I just, made a huge money. You're only going to do that once. But, as I said, you'd probably be the same, Agent, that you can almost turn off every other marketing tool or whatever, and you build relationships. You'll feed yourself for a lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. Like everything I've ever done, and look, I've been in 5, what I'd call as the 5 defined industries, and with some very large companies, some of the biggest in the world, General Electric, some of the biggest in Australia being Murray Goulburn, and a lot of those. And I've still got relationships with people from industries when I was 25 years old and just starting out. I came through the wine industry. I've still got many people that I speak to from that end, and that's all it is. It's people forget that the movement back. There's going to be a big shift back now towards people wanting to do things that aren't transactional anymore. We're already starting to see that now. If there's one thing I think the current environment's teaching us, is that people want to hear from someone, want to speak to someone. It's like you said before, in a boom industry, look, a couple of years ago, the industry was flying. My 14-year-old son could have stood out the front with a Section 32 and a contract to sale and sold a home. It didn't matter who you were or what you were. What a lot of people didn't realise back then is that a good agent probably could have got someone another 10, 20, 30, 40 or $50,000 more for the home. But for some people that weren't educated, the result was a fantastic result, even though there might have been another 20 left on the table. But right now, so now it's all different. Now people are really looking at that other side of the equation, and that's what's going to come out of this. And there's going to be some people who can adapt and some who can't.
And I think if you look at it, you know, you look at the peer review. So we've got fairly new but successful and been in it for 29 years, long time. And I think the first thing is, if you're new to the industry, get on the phone, create value, create relationships. If you've been in it for 29 years and you haven't spoken to people, get on the phone, create value, create relationships. The information, the idea behind this doesn't change if you're new to the industry. If you've been doing real estate for 6 months and you've come into this and gone, what the hell have I done? Understandable, but I don't think you need to see yourself as a disadvantage. I feel as though this puts everybody on a bit of a level playing field, right? There's not really stock, so this is almost like our reset button for the industry, where we've got the opportunity to come back. Chris, you did a session with our group recently, and do you want to talk about your theory behind people answering the phone? Because I think it's very true.
Well, you mean that they're home right now? With that question, I think everybody needs to be calling as many people as possible, and I really want to echo what Adam and Adrian said around what I think one of the biggest trends in the industry is right now is authenticity. And I think being real in all these conversations with the people are going to be answering their phone. You're going to be calling them. They're going to be home. They're looking for diversion. And I think just our ability to be real and you know, I think those days, you know, I've been training real estate agents so long. I remember all their videos that they did, you know, and there they out the front doing the auction, pull the Porsche up, and, you know, Tina Turner's like pumping it in the background going, you seem to be the best. And, you know, that's not what people want right now. And, you know, I think what people really want today is that level of real, that level of authenticity, that level of even simplicity. I think to simplify the process for them and help them, you know, through that. I've spent the last 10 days moving house, and you know, it's you know, it was an interesting time to move house. Just, you know, it's always fun. I went through it. You know, once again in the last 6 months, I got a chance to be a vendor, or to be a buyer, and you know, to notice how the trends of the industry and how you treated throughout that entire process. And I'm well known in the industry, and it wasn't always great. So. You know, but sometimes it was exceptional. And, you know, there was certainly my experience that the agents that do the best for one simple reason, and that the people that are calling you and they're texting you and they're letting you know what's going on and they know their stuff. And I don't think we can get away from authenticity and knowledge. And I think they're the two words I'd really be saying to people. You know, you got to, you know what's going on, know the market, know what's happening, know how you're supposed to, you know, and be real about it and talk to people. And, you know, they're not going to forget you in this market.
And I think that's really true. Like, I think, you know, there's all these things people talk about how digital, you know, we talk about what real estate was 20 years ago, the way we operated, what we used to do, what we do now. And I think there are all of these different support mechanisms out there. So a lot of us have turned to digital. There's no way 2 months ago we'd be sitting on a Zoom meeting like this having a chat. Just wouldn't have happened, because that's not what our industry was doing. So I think there's a lot of benefit that's happened. But at the end of the day, whilst we've got social media, you've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, all that kind of stuff, the one thing that hasn't changed, and Adam, you can probably comment on this more than me, but the one thing that hasn't changed is that we're actually about people. Right? Yeah. 29 years ago, people wanted their hand held. Like, when I've become a vendor myself, or a buyer, or a tenant, or a landlord, you know, I've been doing this for 20 years, and it's really good and well to sit here and say, oh, you know, I've done this before. It's the 50th time I've had this conversation. You know what to do because I know what to do. And you kind of brain dump sometimes. Right now, brain dumping doesn't help because they don't know what's going on. But half of us, let's be honest, we're trying to work our way through the COVID virus and what that means and what the restrictions on how we carry an inspection out. I know that I deal with questions all day, every day. So for us to expect that a vendor or a buyer is going to understand what this means for them, you're kidding yourself. They don't understand 500 times more than we don't understand. So go back to the basics, talk them through it like they're a person who is potentially selling because they've lost their job and they can't afford to keep going. Talk to them as though they you know, it's a pandemic, right? We've been living it and breathing it in a real estate sense for 6 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it is now. But they're now living and breathing the experience of selling a house and the experience of buying a house for the first time in probably a long time. But not only that, they're doing it with this whole coronavirus thing, and there's, you know, restrictions on how we can operate. So don't get impatient with them. Don't expect that they know things. Just take your time, talk them through it, explain it 5 times if you need to. I think, you know, there are a few adaptations that we've had to make. Adam, you've probably seen, having 29 years. The biggest things that you've had to put in your business lately to support you continuing on?
Look, let's just look at a couple of things too. Firstly, I'll be very blunt. What actually really has happened in the last 6 weeks for everybody to think that real estate, it's Armageddon. It's not. It's just a shift in the market. We've had shifts in the market for as long as property's been around. And this is a very quick one. Charlotte, you said 6 weeks. It's only been 6 weeks, but it sounds, we've got to look at the other options too, is communicate. And I've written this on my pad here: communicate, communicate, communicate. Adrian, you said, and so did you, Chris, this is a time to build up relationships. So let's look at modern technology and olden day technology. Use your Facebook, use Twitter, use Instagram, use all the platforms, use your 10,000 people on your database to get out a message to everybody that might just want to hear from you, but also nail it down that that there are people out there that either want to sell now, are preparing to sell in the near future, or just need some assistance. So, you know, go back to the old days of your A class, B class, and C class. The C class want to hear from you, that know that you're still alive. So send out your emails and your Facebook posts and so forth. Your B class people that are starting to think about, well, when we come out of this, we will sell, because as you said before, Charlotte, I'm sick of the kids sort of in the same room as me, and I haven't got my own office, and the backyard, every time they kick the footy, it goes over the neighbours. They're your B class buyers. So categorise those that they want a little bit more communication, a little bit more. And again, another word I wrote, reassurance. They want reassurance that this is a temporary thing. So put them on your B class list, and maybe they want a text, or they maybe want a personal email. Then look at your A class people that were ready to sell before this all happened. And as soon as we come out of that, they're going to sell again. They're the ones that really, really need that reassurance that we're going to be okay. You know, if you have a look at the pandemic and so forth, it really hasn't touched us as much as it could have. And this is, you know, where the government's come into it. And yeah, and I want to hit on the institutes. And look, this is all state institutes. Obviously, we're Victorian, so I have to say the REIV. The amount of work that they're doing behind the scenes to support you guys I am absolutely blown away. I physically didn't realise what went on behind the scenes just to keep things moving along, even in the good times. In the bad times now, if you're not a member of the REIV or your institute, wherever you're watching from, pick up the phone and join it, because what you're seeing now in the industry, you'll get even double, triple more instantly from your institute. But we're going to get through this. Plan for it, and use this time now that if you're not as busy as you were, use this time to cultivate your B class and your C class buyers and sellers, so that when we come out of this, you're actually going to come out on top.
So are you guys working with KPIs each day? So in terms of an expectation, because we're all very busy being busy. And KPIs, it's such a horrible thing. People go, oh, it's just an opportunity for someone to get angry at me and tell me I'm not doing it. It's not. It's actually an ability for you to keep yourself accountable. And I think in sales, being in an office and being motivated and doing your call sessions, so doing your 45-minute call sessions between 9 and 9:45. If you weren't doing it in the office, I'm going to flag that you're probably not the person doing it from home right now. So how are we going to get motivated? Is it through KPIs? Is it through accountabilities? Chris, this might be a you question. Adam, Adrian, I put it out to you. What is the best way for someone who's sitting there going, I just can't do it today? How do we get that going? And what's, you know, what do they need to think of? What are some ideas, tips? Go nuts.
Well, I think the first thing people have to do is they have to be clear about some of the words that we've talked about today. I mean, that we've got to look at this and go, start with the fact this is not Armageddon. Start with the fact that you want to be in real estate. If this is the industry you want to be in, all right, cool. Let's dial into it. What are the useful activities for us to do? And you can just pick the words that people have talked about here today, whether, you know, go out there and be authentic, build trust, and communicate. Well, how do we do that? Let's pick up the phone and let's start talking to people. Let's get the messages out there. I think the biggest challenge for people working at home is and I'm talking about it very simply at the moment. Number one, show up. Make sure that whatever you have to do to put yourself in a professional situation, a professional frame of mind, and that doesn't mean 9 to 5. That can mean whatever it looks like for you. But show up, get ready. Don't try to prospect in your pajamas. Get ready and figure out where you're going to be. I think the second thing is create an environment at home that's about success. And surround yourself with stuff that motivates you. Surround yourself with, and put yourself in a position to do this. And I think number 3 is, this is the best time in the history of the world to do training and motivate people. And I said, I can't drive from Adrian's office to Adam's office and then, it still hit sales meetings. But yet this is for me. I mean, I'm working with offices all over Australia every day, and it's just a really exciting time to sit down and help people work through this. So make sure, that you're investing in small office training that we can do like this. It's come down in price. It's affordable for everybody because, we're not having to travel and we're not having to do these things. And all the great trainers are around and available and willing to do these Zoom conferences. So it's a great opportunity to throw ideas around with some people who've been around a lot of success.
And Adam or Adrian, what are you guys doing? Have you guys got accountabilities, call sheets? What are you doing to make sure the activity continues?
We're probably doing it a little bit differently. Look, I guess one thing we haven't really touched on at the moment is mental health. How are you actually either going into the office every day or working from home? So we're sort of swinging KPIs around to be sort of more like an achievement more so than a goal. Like, I did this today, so I've done what I'm supposed to do and I've achieved something. I'm in a different environment, so pat on the back, glory to me, whether it's taking me 9 hours to do it or 4 hours to do it. We look at it as an achievement to sort of get you through that day for the next day.
I like that.
I think on our end, it's twofold too. I like the thing that you just said, Chris, turn up, be present or be there. Like for us, we've got a lot of office space, so we're still operating out of our office because everyone's got their own room to actually operate. So we've got really good social distancing at office. And I've just found that by keeping everyone here, we're actually able to keep the enthusiasm a bit stronger than we could if we were all operating at home because we're all touching base and that's as much about headspace and mental health, like you said, Adam, as it is about keeping everyone together and moving them forward. I think KPIs definite. Yeah, I mean, you've got to have KPIs, right? What you're going to find, and this will be whether it in any office across Victoria, across Australia, across anywhere, you're going to find 2 things. With all of these government stimulus packages in place, you're going to have some people are going to turn up for the package, and you're going to have some people are going to turn up because they want longevity out of the industry, right? So I'm always, I've never needed to be motivated. I will turn up. For me, and you'll pick this a mile away, and this is what I look for. The people, when you're in an environment like we're in today, and you turn up, you'll notice a shift in people, and this is what I look for. You'll notice a shift. When it gets tough, the tough get going, right? So they'll actually lift their performance, or you'll get people that will think, what, it's just too hard. I'm just going to sit this one out, right, and hope I get carried through. And then when the team comes back on, I might get a run off the bench. Well, I can tell you that's not going to happen because I think a lot of people are going to trim that out of their business over the next 6 months. So I think for me, one of the things we're focusing on key KPIs, communicating, being together, and being focused. For us, everything that I'm doing today is focused on what we do when we're coming out the other end of it. Because guess what? We actually can't change what's happening right now. We can't control it. What we can control is what we put in place to come out the other end of it.
And in support of these guys, I was talking with one of the major companies yesterday, and And, you know, the guy was just talking, the leader was saying, hey, every morning we have a Zoom call with our office and we just go around, and to Adam's point, make sure everyone's okay. To Adrian's point, bring everyone together in a way of making sure that they're okay, making sure they're motivated. What do they need? Who's missing something? You know, we'll talk about the success stories and I think really trying to build on that. So yeah, not probably right now coming from a KPI place of this, but rather to, you know, make sure check in, make sure everybody is okay and that they are, you know, accomplishing things. So I think that should probably be in every morning meeting with leaders and their teams, especially where they're working remotely.
And I think as well, going one from that, if you're in a position where potentially you don't have that leadership that is doing that, buddy up with someone. They don't have to work with you. You don't have to be in the same company. So if I'm struggling, I don't think there's any harm in me going, hey, you know what, Adam, I just need to call you every day because I need you to hold me accountable. Can we just talk about what we're doing? And I just want someone to celebrate my win with. Because if you're a director, for example, and you're on your own and you don't have a sales team now, it's just you've got a couple of properties under management and you're trying to keep on, find another director, find another person. We've all, you know, it's a very insular industry and we're all trying to come together. Reach out to somebody, doesn't matter who they work for, they could be your neighbour. But if you call them up and go, hey, I'm going to celebrate I want to celebrate this win because I've just listed this property. I've been working on this guy for 6 months. I've sent him everything from who's delivering fruit in the area. I mean, that's one thing that I've been saying to our group. Find out who's doing the delivery of food. So if you live in a smaller area or a big area, find out the butcher that's delivering, the fruit and veg place that's delivering, find out who's delivering alcohol and say, if you don't want to leave your house, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I'm going to send you some information, but you know, here's a fruit and veg guy, he's delivering it for free. It's great, keeps the local businesses going. Here's the butcher who's doing it. And also if you need a bottle of wine at the end of the day, Dan Murphy's are delivering. So whatever it might be, but give them something that's going to help them. Because when you come out of this and you've been that person going, I've just listed another property, I've just sold another property, they're going to go, fantastic, don't care. But you know what, this person over here, they kept me up to date, they offered assistance, knock on people's doors if you need to. If you've noticed that a house hasn't had any movement, make sure you stand back. But I just wanted to check in because I haven't noticed any changes in the house. It looks like the grass is getting a bit overgrown. Could be an elderly lady. Go and offer to mow the lawns. Do something for the community because right now, you know, we're past the stage of knocking each other out for a roll of toilet paper. We're now at a point where we should be coming back together and working together, particularly within this industry. We'll finish up on that, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Anything else that you want to add before we jump off?
Keep going.
Keep going, stay calm, and I think really try to just think about useful action every day as opposed to getting sucked into the wave. And don't watch 18 hours of COVID-19 on TV every day where you're just getting overrun with horrible information. So identify what goes in here.
And also just remember that everybody's going through it. You're not on your own.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.